Hello, Ina.
How are you doing? All good?
Good, thank you. Hope the same for yourself.
Yeah, it's okay. Thanks.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. Good morning.
Oh, yes, it's working. So, almost out time. Charles, les bouquins pour Michel, c'est déjà parti. Les
Pardon?
livres, les livres pour Michel, c'est déjà parti.
Ah oui, super, merci.
Good evening.
Good.
Good evening.
So, it is our time. So, let's start with a quick prayer in this freezing morning. Father Almighty, be with us through this study, giving us the right thoughts, the right intuition, to allow us to capture what your son Kardec brought to us. Be with us through this humble study. So be it.
So it.
So let me share the book.
Can you hear me? Quick question. Are we recording this meeting? Because I see it's live, but do we also
Yeah, it's
record?
live.
Do we save
We
it?
transmit them. We transmit them on YouTube,
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
and the register remains on a YouTube page on SSL. So anyone can want to see, is more than welcome.
Thank you.
Just look. We almost finished the topic 287 last week. So let me just conclude this one before I move to the next one. They offer the further advantage of helping us unmask deceptive spirits who, more pretentious than knowledgeable, rarely stand up under tightly logical examination. What he means by that is that we have the obligation to identify the best we can which kind of spirits we are talking about, which spirits are talking to us, and the level, the degree of information that's coming in our direction. Okay? Since truly high order spirits have nothing to fear about this process, they are the first to suggest that we asked for explanation concerning obscure points, whereas the others are afraid of confronting strong arguments and take great care to avoid them. I think I mentioned here last weekend that evolved spirits, they have no problems if we ask, and if we ask again. What they want is us to leave knowing or understanding the answers they were giving to us. On the other hand, the other ones, they will feel uncomfortable. That is why they usually suggest to the mediums whom they wish to dominate and force to accept the utopian ideas to abstain from all controversy regarding their teachings. See? Whoever has well understood what we have stated thus far in this work already has some idea of the scope to which we should limit the question addressed to spirits. Nevertheless, in order to be more certain, we will now provide the response to the main subjects that individuals with little experience generally present to them. As we used to say, we need to elaborate questions based in the outcome of those questions. Why or what this answer will be used for. If it's something related to material things, forget about it. You're not going to get answers from serious spirit. If it's something that will help someone spiritually, if it's something that will promote a general knowledge or something on those lines, is a different thing. Remind you all here that please feel free to interrupt at any time with questions, ideas, or even if you feel like something is not correct, please do so, okay? Appropriate and inappropriate questions. Do spirits willingly respond to the questions asked of them? It depends on the question. Serious spirits take pleasure in responding to those whose purpose is goodness and your advancement. They do not listen to worthless questions, however. I don't think there's anything to comment here. I think we comment enough about that. So, but again, if you feel like you need to ask questions or something is not clear enough, please just raise your hand like Christine just did. Hi, Christine.
Hi. I just thought that a spirit might think it's a worthless question, but to the person who's trying to ask the question, they may feel it's a worthwhile question to ask. So is it a lot of it you need to depend on how you phrase that question?
No,
rephrasing the question?
I don't think it's a matter of rephrasing the question. It's a matter of intention of the question. For example, how old are you?
I'm 66 this year.
No, I know. I mean, not you. I mean, the spirit. Sorry. I'm asking the spirit, how old are you?
Oh, sorry.
Well,
Yeah.
What a meaningless question. If I'm 10, 20, or 100, does it matter? And knowing a bit that we are eternal beings, we were 50, 60, 80 when we were incarnated. But how many years are you now on the spiritual world? Maybe you are 200 years now on the spiritual world. So it's a meaningless question. So what could be meaningless to the person asking is depending on the degree of understanding or even the moral degree of the person himself or herself. And then the spirit will say, well, I'm not going to entertain that thing. Simple as that, you know. So I do not think we would be in such a situation. Hi, Mania.
Oh, hi, Guilherme. Good morning, everyone. Yes, what came into my mind is the case of when a person who is knowledgeable in a subject asks us a question, and a kid asks us a question. You know, if that same question that a kid is asking, which may be very naive, very simple, we know it is, you know, compatible to his age, to his level. So we answer that question, you know, with great pleasure at his level. But from an adult who's knowledgeable in the subject to ask a silly question, then you say, well, you know, why is he asking me that? So no point in answering. He already knows the answer. So you see, so it depends, as Guilherme said. we may ask in a sort of naive way, we may ask a question that is perhaps for some other people, silly question, very simple question, very straightforward, But if it is actually, coming from our heart, and we want to know more about with good intention and so on, so I don't see, that as an unimportant question. Or
Yeah, very good, very good. And I think I mentioned last week something that happened to myself. I was asking a question to a spirit that I'm used to work with, and he came back and said, "Well, I think it's time that you read again the spirit's book because the answer is there."
Yeah.
So he was very polite in a way, and he did not answer my question. He said where I could find the answer, right?
Yeah.
So I think that if we do have the opportunity to be exposed to such a thing, we'll understand that with the practice. He's asking a series of questions, and now to receive a serious response. Nope. It also depends on the spirits who responds. If I asked a question about mechanics to one spirit that is a doctor, very unlikely he will know what I'm talking about. Likewise, if he asked me a question about some diseases, I will not know anything. So we need to be aware that they are spirits, but we are also spirits. There's no difference between us and them. Same principles of knowledge, of understanding of things are exactly the same as us. But a serious question, keep frivolous spirits away. It is not the question itself that keeps them away, but rather the character of the one who asks. You see? I may be asking serious questions, but if I'm not worthy of having a proper answer, spirits that may be with us are spirits that are nonsense spirits. On the other hand, if I'm worthy and I'm trying to ask questions with a positive outcome, with a positive need, then good spirits will come to answer. Again, is my son going to pass on the university? Should I apply for this job? Should I do this? Things like that is not a serious question for them. What kinds of questions are particularly disagreeable to good spirits? Oh, they are needless, asked out of curiosity, or meant to test them. They do not respond to these and will withdraw. There's a lot of people in the Spiritism movement, they are very skeptic, and they like to make questions to corner the spirit. If this person is skeptic and the spirits see this person as a good person, someone that's trying to really define something to move on and do something positive, they may answer. Otherwise, goodbye. Are there questions that are disagreeable to imperfect spirits? Only those that can make them display their ignorance or their use when they are trying to be deceptive. Otherwise, they will respond to anything without any concern for the truth. What about persons who only regard the spirit's communication as a distraction or pastime, or as a way to obtain revelations about questions of a personal note? low order spirits like such a persons very much, who like themselves, love entertainment, and they are very pleased when they manage to deceive them. So when we go to someone that reads your hands or throw things, cards, we need to understand that we may not be getting the answer we think we are getting, right? But then we are just part of a game. When the spirits do not respond to certain questions, is it because they do not want or because a higher power opposes certain revelations? It could be both. There are certain matters that cannot be revealed and others that the spirit does not know about. If we strongly insist, will a spirit finally respond? No. If a spirit does not want to respond, it can easily leave. And that is why it is proper to wait when they tell you, and especially when they tell you not to insist to receive a response. Insist on a response that they do not want to give is a sure means of being deceived. I had experiences where we had answers, where spirits told us it's too early for that answer, that will come in due time, or we are not allowed to give you that answer. So we may be facing those possibilities. Are all spirits capable of understanding the question asked of them? Far from it. Less evolved spirits are incapable of understanding certain questions, which, however, does not prevent them from making a good or bad attempt, just like among yourselves. In certain cases, when it might be useful or more enlightened, spirits will often help a less knowledgeable one by whispering their response to it. And we had experiences in the past where the spirit who was communicating with us, just a minute, I've been told this is the answer. It happens like that, okay? This may be easily recognized by the contrast of certain response with others, or by the spirit itself confirming it. However, this only applies to sincere, acknowledgeable spirits and never to those who display false knowledge. But again, why we want to ask something? Will the answer received drive our choices? Because if that is the goal, I'm asking a question to drive my choices, there's a potential risk on doing that. First, if you are leaving something right now, is your life challenging enough to make you concerned about the choices you have to make? But it is your choice. You cannot subcontract this to anyone else. This is your choice. Because the consequences of the choice taken is yours. Right? So we need to be careful that sometimes, and I'm seeing that over and over, people that come and ask stupid questions, to be honest. And questions that will drive them to go left or right. In a serious environment, the spirit will respond in a way that I can make a suggestion, but it's your choice. You have to decide. It's your decision. In an environment that's not that safe, a spirit will take the opportunity to have fun with you. And if you go blindly following what you've been told, Doesn't matter. It's your choice. You choose to be fooled. We are incarnated to make decisions, good or bad. We all do. Learn from them and move on. And I see over and over, since I was very little, people relying on what the spirits are saying to make decisions of their own life. So be very careful with that. You could be deceived.
Guilherme,
Oi.
good morning, everybody. Can I just give you an example of that? We had in our group here in Cardiff a gentleman who came, and obviously some people have a perceived idea about what a spiritualist or, spiritist, as we are all put in the same group in UK is. So he came to our group, and I could see in his face he was a little bit shocked, and he was kind of, but you speak to spirits, don't you, and everything, and blah blah blah. And then we just were talking about the content of the books and how important that was, and about us, and everything in the gospel, because I think he was a bit shocked. We are talking about Jesus, we are talking about God and everything. So we felt, okay, he's I don't know what he's really wanting, and we said, we are here if you like to come again, it's fine. And then he never came back. And a few months later, I noticed that he was on the television. And I thought, well, I know that person. And that was the guy who came to our group. And I think he wanted exactly that. He wanted to get, I don't know, some certainty that something would happen to him, like seeing the future or something like that. And obviously we did not give to him because we don't know. But he wanted to ask these sort of questions and to be able to take the next step in his life. That's all I wanted to share with you guys.
Yeah, we see that a lot. People that do not understand what spiritism is and trying to get what they want from the spiritism in so many ways. And I'm pretty sure you heard me saying here a few times already, well, I do not find basis for that in the spiritism. I do not see that echo from the spiritism type of thing, So there's a lot of things outside the spiritism. There's a lot of things. But here we base our studies and our actions on the spiritism. And it's very common too, having people trying to use the spiritism for their own benefit, creating the spiritism that will fit their purpose. That's very normal too, on any shape and form. But especially when we're trying to pass the knowledge, the little knowledge we have about spiritism, we have to remain within the spiritism teachings. Okay? Hi, Munir.
Hi, Guilherme. I think one important aspect in all this is, especially for us spiritists, is to remember that spirits don't get any special power when they return to spirit, or because they are in the spiritual world. We are spirits as well, and no one will show any virtue that spirit has not worked hard to develop. So to think that because the person has gone to the spiritual world, acquired, all sorts of powers, and no, it's just us. Most of us will carry on the same, unless we have already a huge baggage that in this incarnation is somehow dormant, suppressed for the good of our experience here in the flesh. But very few of us will have that. Most of us will return to the spiritual world and remain as ignorant as we are today, or, it's just that we have more freedom in the spiritual world. And very few spirits will show this baggage, huge baggage, when they return. So when talking to spirits, not because they are in the spiritual world, that they know everything, they can answer all questions, and that we should rely on them, you know, and not rely perhaps on someone who is here, you know, using different values to measure what they say and what an incarnate person would say. No, we should use the same filters, as it were.
I totally agree with you, Munir. That is very important to everyone to keep it in mind. And when we were talking about it, something came to my mind. Today, there is a massive trend of people trying to do astral voyage, regression to past lives. I don't even know if that's the right term. People trying to have dreams to identify the future, some things like that, right? You can Google on the internet, you find that you can spend your money with that if you want. But this is very risky. This is very risky, right? Let me give an example here that I had recently back in Brazil. I just came from Brazil. And one of the mediums in the mediumship meeting, he was detaching very easily from his physical body during the mediumship meeting. And he could have access to some information. And I was a bit concerned about how it was happening. And as always, I always go to the benefactor, hey guys, I need a help. Why is that help happening? Why? How? When? How can I deal with that? And the benefactors start with the questions, not with the answers. Is it happening only on the mediumship meeting? Yes. Is it happening in a serious mediumship meeting? Yes. Do you believe or do you trust the benefactors that organize the mediumship meeting? And then I realized, oh, dear, here we go again. Yes. Okay. Now I have another set of questions. Does it happen at home, on the streets? No. 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 Do you need to ask again? And then I said no. Because then what he was trying to say was, it is happening in a controlled environment with people we know, we trust. So it is a mediumship phenomena guided by the benefactors, not something that you are in an unprotected place or doing something that you're supposed not to do. So we need to be always evaluating all that's around us. If I'm having such a thing at home, if I'm having such a thing in my work environment, things like that, then we need attention, a particular attention. If we are having such situations in a controlled environment, is a different thing. Any comments, any questions, anyone, or should I move on? I guess I should move on. Question concerning the future. Ah, that's a good one. A lot of people paid a lot of money trying to know the future. Can the spirits unveil the future to us? Before I read that answer, there are people, mediums, who are able, sometimes, not regularly, to have some glances of the future, some ideas of the future. There are mediums that sometimes they also have the same glances of the past. When something is happening naturally is one thing. When we try to force something to happen, then is another thing. Hi, Denise.
Hi. I mean, we build the future today, so nobody can tell us anything about it because it's our actions today. I mean, we know that we have a certain things that we have to go through, but even that can be changed. So there's not hard. I mean, the future is being built today. Isn't it? Because I know that there's certain things that we have a program we have to go through, but even that, like let's say that we are supposed to like 10 years in a bedridden, like not be able to move. But if we are very good, if we do lots of things, we can change that. I mean, I heard a case like we can change that, die instead of being in the bed for 10 years. So isn't the future up to a certain way changeable all the time by our actions of today?
I will keep your speech as a yes. There's a lot of things we could elaborate on top of it, but I think I would deviate too much of the objective of our study. But it's better that we understand as yes. Okay, so we built our future today. I think it's better like that. Otherwise, I will be bringing too many information that's not related to what we are talking here. But then I ask you a question. Can God know your future? What do you think?
Yes, God knows the future. God knows everything. God knows.
Okay. I'm not elaborate about that either. It's just to make you think. All right. Can spirits unveil the future to us? If humans knew the future, they would neglect the present. And yet, this is an issue about which you always insist in obtaining a precise answer. I will throw just a name here so you can think a little bit harder than is Nostradamus. This should be regarded as a serious error because the manifestation of spirits is not a means of fortune telling. If you absolutely insist on an answer, however, it will be given by a frivolous spirit. We are constantly warning you about this, right? Frivolous spirit. Hi, Christine.
Hi. Yeah, it was just back to the statement about Nostradamus. What made you say about Nostradamus? I'm just interested from your perspective why you put about Nostradamus in there.
Because he is historically well known on every corner of the planet of someone who had visions of things that we end up having it. Just to make people think and people to study the subject, because I don't like to bring sometimes answers. I like to bring things to people to make them, oh, yes, there's something there, there's something more. And then the person will, like you, Christine, will dig about the subject. And Nostradamus is a good example, and a lot of people use his name for a lot of things. That's all. Just to giggle a bit and push people to read and to study. Right.
Thank you.
Hi, Liz. Liz?
Oh, hello. I didn't know it was me. Right. So I have a little think about that, an idea about that. Because, when we decide something today, it's kind of, we are opening a path to our future. So time for us is in one perspective, time for the spirits to have another perspective, especially the more advanced you are, evolutionary, time is going to mean something different. But for us, and with predictions, like people say about the book of Revelations a lot from the Bible, it is a book of predictions, yes, but it is a book to say, like we can see in our children, if they are doing something wrong, we know what path in the future, what kind of place in the future that path is going to lead to. So it is the same with all these predictions, I believe. Some, especially regarding the revelations, if we remain in the path that we chose, obviously we are going to end up in some sort of place that if they are more evolved than us, we are going, they are going to be more knowledgeable about that. That is one thing that I thought of sharing with you guys, this perspective. But about seeing the future or not seeing the future, Guilherme, as you were saying that. Even today, like we have to be aware that free will is something that is inherent to us. And God very well wanted us to be like this. And he put the laws to kind of guide this free will to a point where it's the best for us and everybody else. But it doesn't take away our free will. And even science today, which sometimes makes me feel a bit annoyed, say that free will doesn't exist. Everything's programmed. You know what is going to happen at the end of someone's life, like reducing the status of humanity to something that's completely predictable, like a machine. Free will has been so much under the spotlight at this moment in time in our life. And when we go to a spirit and say, like, what shall I do? What shall I do? It's kind of giving up this that is inherent in ours, and saying, I don't want to be responsible for my life. That's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Denise.
Yeah, me again. Sorry. I think like I read somewhere like high spirits, they are at the top of the mountain. They can see the future because they know where the earth is going to become. We all know that the earth is going to be like a generation like gold. So they can see the main things that's going to happen. And you know that God, like being wars, being things to keep us on the path of the evolution somehow. But I think that's what I meant to say. So the future of the plan, the future of the nation is going to be guided. But I think when I said about our future, like simple individuals, because we know that if Allan Kardec did not wrote the book, someone else would have done it. So I think that's what I meant, like one human being future. I think it's much harder for any spirit to tell us what's going to happen, because all depends on free will. You can do an action that can be like 1,000 years in the umbral, while the plan, I think, like the nation. But anyway, that's what I mean to say. Like a group is easier to predict than one individual. I think that's what I mean to say.
Mm-hmm. Good. Munir?
I just want to add something that perhaps will help us understand these predictions of the future and so on. We have a prediction of the future basically every day, which is weather forecasts. Nowadays, they are much better than they used to be a few decades back. But we can know in advance, days in advance, when it's going to start to rain. They will tell us, well, 9:00 a.m., you will start to have rain or wind or whatever. And most of the time it works. Sometimes it doesn't. But why is it better today than it used to be before? And why can these people predict the future? It is a prediction of the future. I'm amazed because sometimes the weather is wonderful and they tell you 10 days beforehand that it's going to rain at that day, at that time, and it does. So why is that? Because nowadays we know better all the phenomena related to weather forecasts. And we have computers to do simulations and to take all that into account and see what is the most likely situation. But can you imagine God looking at us and knowing, although we have our free will, he knows the borders, the barriers within which our free will act. So, taking the example of the weather forecast, we may be perhaps more predictable than we think, but if someone knows all the variables involved in our behavior, we can more or less have an idea where we will end up, going along that path. Of course, we evolve, and as we evolve, the variables will change. The equation has to be recalculated, but it's a question of understanding us. And we won't have a behavior that is not within us to behave in that way. Sometimes we say, oh, so surprised. That person behaved in a way that no one expected. But we didn't know the person could behave in that way. That is the point. Not that the person couldn't, but could, but we weren't aware of that. So, seeing the futures more or less as I see, like the weather forecast. The more you get to know about the phenomena involved, the more predictable it becomes.
Munir, you are giving a massive example. Very nice. And something came to my mind. Why I want to know the future. Anxiety is someone in the present living in the future. Anxiety is one of the main disturbance of our lives nowadays, because we are always trying to live in the future. Depression is when we are living in the past. What we have been through create a massive feeling that end up creating a depression. Why we don't decide to live the present? So we need to think about that from time to time, because we all are anxious to know what's going to happen tomorrow, in a year, in 10 years. We need to be careful, because sometimes when we are too much in the past and too much in the future, we are neglecting the present. Hi, Ursula.
Morning. I was travel. Why I could traveling? I couldn't be last Saturday, but I miss everybody. Say, it's interesting to hear why people is interested only to know about the future. Because we do the future, we do our future. Guilherme, yes, I see, and they know too. It's true. I never asked to in spirit, oh, what will be with me next year or life or something. Never. Not because I don't have a few. I have faith, but because I think my life is already much to do things here, responsibility, and so I think I did it ahead of time. But I must say, I am not so worried about it. But I must to take care my spirit, me, also these spirits. This I am a little bit ambitious, I know. And then indeed I have a mistake, do many mistakes, so. But I don't worry about the future. Material, yes, because I needed to eat, I needed to do something or so. But my future in the future, what will happen? I don't think about that. I never. It's wrong with me. Something wrong with me.
Good example. Good example. So let's move on a bit more. Nevertheless, aren't some future events spontaneously and correctly announced by spirits? It might happen that the spirit foresee matters that it considers proper to disclose, or that are its mission to reveal to you. It is in such cases, however, that we should be most concerned with deceptive spirits who amuse themselves by making predictions. You can only judge the degree of confidence they merit by observing the circumstances as a whole. What kind of predictions should we distrust the most? All which are not of general usefulness. Personal predictions can nearly always be considered apocryphal. Oops. So that means that if we're getting a prediction, it's something that will help the masses, will impact the masses, not something that will impact yourself only. For what purpose do spirits spontaneously announce events that end up not occurring? Most of the time, to entertain themselves with the credulity, fright, or elation they cause, and then they laugh at disappointment. Sometimes, however, these deceptive predictions have a serious purpose to test the person to whom they are directed, revealing the nature of the good or evil sentiments they arouse when received. An example could be an announcement that could arouse greed or ambition at the prospect of the inheritance of someone's death, etc. And came to my mind here, one of the mediumship meetings we have had, that one spirit came announcing the Third World War. He was very convincing to the point that we could see in the meeting, one look at the other, like, it's coming. What am I going to do? Should I buy food? Should I buy water? We could see on people's face. Really? Really? We're going to believe that kind of thing? Some people do. To the point that on the end of the meeting, the benefactor had to come to demystify what has happened. Because we are humans. We like that kind of thing. Why do you think of the newspapers? Why do you think on the TV news? You only get bad things because it sells. Why it sells? Because we buy. Because we like. We like the sensationalism. We like to see destruction. We like to see that kind of thing. So again, an enlightened spirit will never bring information like that. One example that I like to use quite often as well is that during pandemic times, we had messages signed by a very known spirit on the spiritism, and he was bringing disaster. Let's say 95% of his message was positive, but 5% of that message was bringing chaos. And then we said to the guys, well, beware, that's not him. He wouldn't bring that level of uncertainty, that level of distress. This message cannot be from him. But a lot of people in the Spiritist movement were distributing the message on WhatsApp, TikTok, you name it. Because this spirit said that. It's the end of the world. Really? All this study we have done so far means nothing? First spirit that come trying to deceive us, we jump in with both legs. We need to be attentive. We need to be very attentive. And when we distribute that level of information to others, we are responsible for that too. Okay? Oh, I have two hands. Hi, Osori.
Only to remember that many times I see on YouTube or something there, Divaldo said, and Divaldo advertised us many years ago. used my name to make money. So he said, he didn't said nothing. They use who come people say I am a spiritist and use the name of another people. So I think this I can't understand, Guilherme. I would like to understand, but I can't because people maybe they can do share the cave. They're all to because everybody will die someday. And then what's happened with the conscience of the people that they use another people to be they have influence or something. Because it's with that you said about, I think is why I remember to Divaldo Shelby. He said, they used my name, it's not me, it wasn't me. So.
Good one. Good one. Hi, Liz.
Hi, guys. I just wanted to kind of pay attention in this phrase, Guilherme, that you said about the end of the world. As like people use that as a form of psychological terrorism, let's say like this. And, you know, I think in Spiritism, we have this blessing with the knowledge that has been given to us and, you know, organized by Kardec, of this consolation that the end of the world is just, it is not the end of the world. So this doesn't really, it is not something that we have to go mad about it. It's, you know, I hear my mother sometimes say, it's the end of the world, it's the end of the world. So mine, just be calm. It's okay. If we, you know, this knowledge that I have from Spiritism just took me far away from this that used to be a reality for me. And I think everyone here from Brazil know how crazy it was around the year 2000s. And I was a child, and how crazy it was for me, you know, to think, oh my God, what is going to happen, and not knowing what I know now. So I think this very phrase is a little bit suspicious in my eyes.
Mm-hmm. Good one, indeed.
Yes.
Why don't serious spirits set a specific date when they sense a particular event will occur? It is because they can't, or because they don't want to, for either reason. In certain cases, they might sense the approach of an event and then warn you about it. As for the exact times, they are often not allowed to give it, or many times they cannot, because they themselves do not know it. A spirit may foresee an event, but the exact moment might depend on incidents that have not yet occurred, and which only God knows about it. Frivolous spirits who have no scruples about fooling you set days and hours without caring about the truth. That is why every circumstantial prediction must be considered suspect. And nowadays, with the internet, we see a lot of people getting attention, saying this will happen, and yes, it has happened, and then becomes someone famous and perhaps making money of it. So we need to be very careful with that. Like what Munir said about the weather, you know, I can give another example. Like, I have a massive stake in front of a Labrador. I will leave the place, the room, for 30 seconds. I can predict what's going to happen. When I come back 30 seconds later, there's no stake there anymore. And many things can be considered or evaluated or predicted like that, you know. Once more, our mission is to enable you to evolve, and we help you in a way we can, in any way we can. Those who ask high order spirits for wisdom will never be deceived. However, don't think you can waste our time with your futilities. I'm going to read that again. Don't think you can waste our time with futilities and with foretelling, foretelling the future for you. We have left that task to frivolous spirits who amuse themselves with it, like naughty children. And sometimes we see spiritists wasting time of good spirits. Providence has set limits on what can be revealed to humans, and serious spirits keep quiet about anything they are forbidden to reveal. All who insist on receiving an answer expose themselves to the deception of low-order spirits, who are always ready to take advantage of opportunity to exploit their gullibility. Spirits see or sense future events through induction. They see them occurring within a time frame that they do not measure as we do. To set a specific time for an occurrence, they would have to identify with our way of calculating duration, which they do not always deem necessary. This is almost always the cause of apparent errors. Aren't there individuals who have been gifted with a special ability to see future? Yes. Those whose soul can disengage itself from matter, in which case it is their spirit who sees. How is it possible? When appropriate, God allows them to reveal certain things for good purpose. Nonetheless, impostors and charlatans far outnumber them. This faculty will become more common in the future, however. So going back to some questions we had here today, or some comments. The spirit disengaged from the matter, and then he have access to a different degree of information. What about spirits who amuse themselves by telling people that they are going to die on a certain day at a specific time? They are pranksters of bad taste, excessive bad taste, who only want to have fun at the alarm they create. You must never worry about this. But if you do joke about that, be aware that your words may be resonating in the person you said that for too long, and you may have an outcome that you do not want. So it's better not to do it. All right. And I'm stopping here before Raphael, I'm not sure if he's here, before Raphael tells me, remember, we have people coming. Is Raphael here? Oh, yes. Raphael, I'll leave with you. Raphael.
Hi, thank you, Guilherme. Today, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do the prayer. So I'm going to ask for a volunteer to do our moment of irradiation.
Pablo? He's volunteering.
All right.
Yeah, he is.
Let's now calm our minds and unite our thoughts, thinking of our brothers and sisters that are in need all over the world. We know that Brazil is burning on fire right now. So not only people, but animals, trees, the air, everything needs aid, help. Dear Father, help our brothers and sisters in Brazil to hold to the hope and in the aid that always comes. Let's hold in our thoughts as well all nations going through war, hunger, drought, and all injustice that we can see in the news, but sometimes it is not just in front of us, and we tend not to keep those in need in our minds. Let's share our vibrations of love and care, and may it cover the world, soothing it in all needs. Master Jesus, dear Father, we are humbly sharing our hope, our thoughts, that the better tomorrow always comes. Thank you, and so be it.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your presence, for your patience, for your questions and comments. I'm looking forward to see
And
you
for
all.
me telling you how old I am.
Yeah, now we know.
Bye.
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 Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.
Bye bye.